What I'm going to talk about in this video is going to be how to add or subtract polynomials. So this is, I'm going to start with this example over here. Negative 7x cubed plus 6x squared minus 11x plus 13. And to this polynomial, we're going to add a second polynomial, which is 19x cubed minus 11x squared plus 7x minus 17. What I've seen is that people have trouble getting rid of the parentheses in the first step. So in order to add these two polynomials, the first thing that we have to do is get rid of those parentheses. And this is something that we have to understand. So we have to look at what is in front of the parentheses. So for the first parenthesis, what is in front of the parentheses is going to be a plus sign. If we don't have anything, we have to assume there is a plus sign in front of that parenthesis. In front of the second parenthesis, we have a plus sign. And this is going to tell us a lot about what to do to the numbers that are inside the parentheses. So if you have a plus sign in front of a parenthesis, that means that every single term, every single one of these terms, terms are separated by plus and minus signs, it's going to conserve the sign that it has. So the first term is going to remain negative. If it has a plus sign in front of the parentheses, we're getting rid of those parentheses right now. So it remains negative. The second term is going to remain positive, 6x squared. The third term is going to remain negative. This is all because I have a plus sign in front of the parentheses, so every sign remains the same. And the 13 as well. So that is for the first polynomial. The second polynomial, we're going to do the exact same thing. So I have 4 terms separated by plus and minus signs. Negative 17, the last one. Okay, so since what I have in front of the parenthesis is a positive sign, that means that every single term is going to remain or retain its sign. So for the first term, 19x cubed, the sign that's associated with that 19, since it doesn't have any sign, we have to assume that's a positive sign. So it's going to retain its positive sign. That's positive 19x cubed. The next term is going to be negative 11x squared, so that has to retain a sign as well. We're just getting rid of the parentheses. The third term, that's positive 7x, so it has to retain its sign. And the last term, that's negative 17. So we get rid of the parentheses. It looks really, really simple, but sometimes it's complicated when you have a subtraction or when you have a negative sign in front of the parentheses. Okay, so this is the first step. The next step into adding those polynomials is going to be combined like terms, or combining like terms, So like terms are going to be those two terms that have the same variable with the same exponent. So we're looking for terms that have the same variable with the same exponent. So let's look at the first term, that's a negative 7x cubed. And we have to find any other term all along the line that is also a x cubed, that also contains an x cubed. And the one that I have here is going to be positive 19x cubed. So those are going to be the first two terms that I'm going to combine. Okay, so how do I combine like terms? I have to either add or subtract the coefficients, the big numbers. Okay, the big numbers, as if this was negative 7 apples plus 19 apples. Okay, so this is what we're going to be adding, just the coefficients. So what is the addition of the first coefficient? Let's see. That's going to be negative 7 plus 19. These are going to be x cubes. So negative 7 plus 19, that's going to be 12 x cubed. So this is the result of adding or combining the first two like terms that I encountered, the x cubes. You have to leave the x cube as it is because that's negative 7 apples plus 19 apples. You combine those into 12 apples. So it's still x cubed. So let's see, we can combine something with this positive 6x squared. So if we have any other x squared around, that means that we can combine them the same way. Okay, so that's going to be 6, just the coefficient 6 minus 11, and these are the x squares. So 6 minus 11, you have to do this subtraction of two numbers with different signs. all you have to do is subtract the magnitudes, right? The largest minus the smallest. So 11 minus 6, that result is 5. And you have to give it the sign of the largest number, which is negative 5. And those are my x squares. So I already combined the x cubes, I already combined the x squares. You have to do the same thing for the x to the power of 1, so the single x's. So which is another like term to negative 11x all along the line, the positive 7x. So these two we have to combine the same way. So negative 11, that's the first coefficient, plus 7, and these are going to be the x's. So negative 11 plus 7, again, those are numbers with two numbers with different signs, so you have to subtract them and give them the sign of the largest magnitude. So 11 minus 7, that's going to be 4. And it has to be negative 4 because negative 11 is larger. And those are going to be the x's. It looks like we're almost done. I just have to combine the last two like terms that I have, which are the constants, the numbers that are by themselves that don't have any letter with them. So positive 13 and negative 17. So that's positive 13 minus 17. These are the, I'm just going to put here the constants, or the constant. So again, two numbers with different signs, I have to subtract them and give them the sign of the largest magnitude. So 17 minus 13, that's going to be 4. And the result has to be negative since negative 17 is larger. So the final result of adding these two polynomials is going to be 12x cubed. This is the yellow one, right? 12x cubed minus 5x squared. This is the blue one. Minus 4x. This is the green one. Minus 4, which is the red one. So this is going to be my result of adding those two polynomials. Now, we can try to do another example that involves subtraction. So I'm going to try to do a subtraction of two polynomials. Let's see what we encounter in here. So the first polynomial is going to be 5x to the power of 4, y to the power of 2, 6x cubed, y minus 7y. That's the first polynomial. Into this, I'm going to subtract 3x to the power of 4, y squared, minus 5x cubed y, minus 6y, plus 8x. So this is a subtraction that I'm going to do. Remember that in front of the parentheses, if they don't have any sign, we have to assume that is a positive sign. So I have a positive sign in front of the first polynomial. I have a negative sign in front of the second polynomial. Let's see what we have to do. So for the first polynomial, since I have a positive sign in front of it, that means that every single term is going to retain its sign. So that is originally positive. It's going to remain a positive 5x to the power of 4y squared, plus the second one is also going to retain its sign, 6x cubed y, and the third one is also going to retain its sign. So that's what a positive sign in front of the parentheses mean. Now for the second situation, if you have a negative sign in front of a parenthesis, this is the opposite of the positive sign. So that means that every single sign inside the parenthesis has to change to its opposite sign. So in this case, I have to define what are my original signs for every term inside the parentheses. So for the first term, the original sign of this 3 is going to be a positive. That's a positive 3 inside the parentheses. The negative sign is outside the parentheses. That belongs to the whole parenthesis, not just the term. So this term, 3x to the power of 4y squared, it has a positive sign in front of it. So the second sign, excuse me, it's to be a 3. The second sign that we have in the second term is going to be negative 5. The third sign is going to be a negative, that's a negative 6. And the last one's a positive 8. So what a negative sign means in front of the parenthesis is that everything is going to change its original sign. So the first term, instead of being positive 3x to the power 4y squared, this is going to become negative 3x fourth y squared. So that's changing the first sign of the first term in the second parenthesis. And we have to do the same thing for the next term. Right? So that's -5. It means that it's going to become +5 x cubed y. For the third term, that's -6. It means it's going to become a +6y. And for the last term, that's a +8, so it means it has to become -8x. So we have to change the signs of everything inside the second parenthesis, since we have a negative sign in between. If we hadn't a positive sign, like in the previous example, in between the parentheses, then nothing is going to change signs, right? Everything is going to retain its sign, right? The first one's positive, negative, positive, negative. So the terms remain positive, negative, positive, negative, okay? But in the second example, I have a negative sign in front of the parentheses, so everything changed signs. It was originally positive, negative, negative, positive, and now this became the opposites, right? Negative, positive, positive, negative, the opposite signs as originally. And now I have to do the same thing as before. I have to combine like terms. So let's analyze the terms that I have for the first term. Are there any other x fourth y squares around? Well, let's look up. This is also a y fourth, an x fourth and a y square. So it means that I can combine those two coefficients together. Okay, just the big numbers, which is 5 minus 3, and these are the x fourth y squares. You know the letters, you're not gonna do anything to the letters. This is just combining like terms as if it's apples with apples. Okay, so 5 minus 3 is going to be 2 x fourth y squared. So this is the first term of combining like terms on those two polynomials. Let's analyze the second term, x cubed y. So I need to find any other x cubed y's that I have around, and I know I have a positive 5x cubed y in there. Okay, so the coefficients are 6 or positive 6 and positive 5. So all you have to do is add those two numbers. Those are going to be the x cubes y. Okay, so 6 plus 5, that's 11 x cubed y. That's the second term, positive 11 x cubed y's. Let's see if we can combine something in the third term that I have in there. It's negative 7y's. So if I have any other y's along, those are going to be like terms, so I should be able to combine those coefficients, the big numbers. So the big numbers are negative 7 and positive 6, and these are the y's. So negative 7 plus 6, that's going to be negative 1, and those are going to be the y's. So negative 1y. Later on, we're going to replace this for negative y. Since we don't say I have one apple, you say I have an apple, right? So we don't include the one as a coefficient. And the last term, we have some other term in here. That's a negative 8x. If you don't have anything to combine that term with, so be it, just leave it by itself. It's a negative 8x. So let's combine everything together, everything that we just calculated. So that is 2x fourth y squared plus 11x cubed y minus y minus 8x. So this should be the result of combining like terms through subtraction. So this is an example for addition and for subtraction. Explain a little bit of the differences between addition and subtraction. So always, it depends on what you have in front of the parentheses. If you have a positive sign, then every sign inside the parentheses remains. If you have a negative sign, every sign inside the parentheses changes to its opposite. And then after that, all you have to do is combine like terms. Whichever variables have the same exponent in different terms, you can combine those, just the coefficients, just the regular numbers, through addition, through normal addition and subtraction. Okay.